Okay, this is part 2 of the orientation for the MAT-125 class, and first thing I want to show you in this second part is we now are looking at the timeline. So let's look over here under the timeline subheading, and we can click on weekly schedule. In this weekly schedule, again, it's an external link, so if I click on it, it takes me to a new page in my external teaching site. And what this page will do is break things down in two different ways. One is that it has preparation materials that are relevant to the assignments. So you see here, if you were to look at exercise 1, you could click on it and it'll take you to the assignment. Let's go back. But also it tells you what you need to do to prepare for this assignment so that you don't just try to start it. Every one of these assignments has preparation materials. Do not try to attempt the assignments before you do your reading and before you do the lectures and stuff like that. Otherwise, you're going to want to drop the class because you're not going to be prepared. If you prepare yourself, you're going to do just fine. It's reasonably intuitive stuff. Okay, so for exercise 1, you've got some reading. You've got, for instance, here is a slide lecture, and you can either look at it like this as a PDF, or you could also go, up into full presentation mode if you wanted, and then you can look at it. I guess it's basically the same way, but it goes full screen, so you don't have a bunch of the other stuff going on. The other thing too is, let's get out of that, is that if you want to download the lecture, then you can always come down here and you can save it, and then if you have like Acrobat Pro or something, you can go to full screen mode where it will allow you to just use your arrow keys to go back and forth between the different pages or different slides. Okay, so and then you've got some other stuff that I tell you that you have to do in order to actually do the assignment. So this is all of the prep stuff by assignment, and then down at the bottom, okay, there is the weekly organization so that you know how you're doing stuff each week. And see here, it also tells you that the weeks are arranged Monday through Sunday. So our weeks start on Monday and they end on Sunday. So there are going to be a lot of due dates that are on Sunday evenings, okay? And that gives people who are working time to do stuff on the weekends if they want to, or all week, whichever. Okay, so for instance, for the first week, you have to do all the orientation materials, right? And then you have a discussion that's mandatory, by the way. It's mandatory. You always, whether this is a summer class or you're in some other semester, you always have a class introduction in my classes where you have to basically sign in and tell everybody who you are and what your interests are and things like that. One thing it does is it tells me who's in the class, and it lets each of you know who your classmates are. And also, it also behaves as an attendance roster for me because I don't get to have an on-ground class where I can take roll. This is basically like showing up for the first day of class. If you don't do this by the date that I specify, and you don't contact me with some reason that you couldn't do it in advance, then you probably are going to be dropped from the class administratively. Make room for somebody else who is going to respond on time. Okay, so that's pretty important. And anyway, so this tells you, basically what you need to be doing and when. Okay, so that is a way for you to keep up with your homework. Okay, so let's go back to Blackboard. Also, I have, at a glance, I have due dates. So if you go over here to the left, you see due dates, and here we've got some due dates. And you can just go through and put this stuff in your calendar so that you don't forget to do things. And these are all of the due dates for graded material for the semester, okay? And also, some discussions require an initial post, and then after people have put their initial post, you have to respond to them. So a lot of these will say, initial post or something like that, like this one, for instance. So you have to do an initial post, then you have to wait for people to put their stuff up, and you have to come back and respond, okay? So those are the things in the timeline. Course content, here's a shortcut to the syllabus. I showed you in the class orientation a link to the syllabus. Well, this is also going to take you out to the syllabus. Assignment outlines. These are literally just outlines. These tell you what you have to do for the assignment, but this is not where you turn your grades in. Okay, so these are all, for the most part, external links to my website. So for instance, if we click on this, it'll take you to the beginning HTML assignment, and it tells you explicitly in here what you need to do. So follow these instructions explicitly, okay? And then also it tells you that 10% of your grade is going to be discussions, has a link to the discussion board. Now over here where it says turn in assignments here, there are two ways that you're going to turn your assignment, two parts I should say, to turning in assignments. The first part is you're going to upload your stuff to the server, and this, excuse me, and each one of these things are going to tell you that, as in this first sentence where it says, okay, after you've successfully uploaded your assignment to the server, you're basically going to click this link to turn it in, and then it tells you that you're going to have to copy the URL. Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so for instance, if I am a student whose work is right here, okay, and this is what I need to turn in, okay, I've already uploaded it to the server. What I would do is I would come up here, I would make a copy, alright, so I'd copy this URL, this web address that is on the MAT server, and then I would go and I would turn it in, okay, and let's just pretend like this is where I'm turning it in, okay, and then what I need to do is I need to paste it right there. And if you are so inclined, you could also turn this into a link by clicking on this, but at a minimum, this is what I need you to do. And then you would submit it. And the reason that you do this, I'm not going to submit it, but the reason you do this is because it will show up in my gradebook that you are completely finished with your assignment and ready for me to grade it. Now, a lot of people will put their work up on the server, and I can't really necessarily tell if it's finished or not, because maybe you're just troubleshooting and you're testing it. So I leave it up to you to come here on the left where it says turn in assignments here, and after you've uploaded your finished work to the server, you copy the exact URL of where I can find the work, and then you paste it by turning it in and submitting it. And that is how I will grade your work. And that's how I'll know that you're finished, because it puts a little tick mark in my gradebook and shows me that you've turned something in. Okay, so this is where you turn in all of your assignments, and you do that for everything. With discussions, that's the exception, because when you submit a post, automatically it shows up in my gradebook. Okay, so that takes us to the discussion board. Alright, so the discussion boards, there are going to be several discussions. There's the course FAQs, and it says not for credit. Okay, that's just for you if you have questions you want to ask that are generic about the class. This is not a place for technical questions like how do I do such and such in my assignment. It's not like that. It would be something like if you notice, for instance, that there are two different due dates listed for an assignment. This is where you would come and you'd say, hey, I noticed that there are two different due dates for this assignment. Which one is accurate? That is appropriate for the course FAQ. Okay. This is your class introductions that you have to do. It tells you explicitly what you need to do and the dates by which you need to do them. The technical help discussion is for technical questions about your assignment. So, like if you're having trouble figuring out, for instance, how to make margins work or padding work on something, you can come and ask a question. And I will check this, but it is there for peers to check it too. You are responsible for participating in this at least 4 meaningful times during this semester before July 20, and the date would be different for a different semester, but at least 4 times so that you get full credit, and it's 2% of your total grade. Do not be fooled. These little 2% and 1% things, they add up to 10%. If you bail out of these things and you don't do them and you don't participate, then that means that you're losing percentage points, and that could be the difference between getting an A and a B, or B and a C, or C and a D, D and an F. Okay. Alright, so there are all these things that are going to be due during the semester. I'm not going to walk through every one of them, but that's where they are. Lectures and demos. What this is, it's basically a compendium of a lot of the other things that maybe are relative to some of your assignments, but it's in one place. So, for instance, if you can't remember which assignment you did a demo with image preparation, for instance, you could come here and you could scroll down and you could say, oh, here's the image preparation lecture, and you could go and look at that. Okay, so this is just a place where if you can't remember where to find a lecture or a lesson, you can come here and look in the list. And I actually have some extra stuff in here too that maybe I don't require, but that you might be interested in. Okay, links, books, and resources. This is the last section. Books are going to be I just have the required book. I don't have the recommended book here. So this is our required book, which is also available on my website in the syllabus. And then here are just a list of links and resources that you don't have to look at, but they're very helpful if you want to look through them. Okay, so that's an introduction to this class. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me, okay, and let me know. But I prefer, if you have general questions about the class, what I really prefer is that I prefer that you go into the discussion first and go into like the course FAQs. Maybe someone else has already asked and maybe I've already answered it, or maybe you're the first of many people who have the same question, and then this way other people can see what those answers are. I prefer that you always try to come and look at the FAQs and also the tech help to see if anyone has a similar question with answers before you email me a question. I don't mind though if you email me a question at all. Okay, so I'm looking forward to semester with you, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns.